You guys as viewers know, for one thing, that I always tend to review lots of books, and I tend doing that at night, reading books. But last night I had a quick read, and you're going to find out why soon. It's my very first review of a kiddies book, if I can call it that. So I've got Zaahied Salie here. Him and his wife has put this together, and they're from an organization and a company called Kufi Books. Zaahied, welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Faizal.
Now, we're going to first talk about Kufi, and then we're going to talk about the publication and the need for the publication, and why you've taken a certain approach in what you've done. So, but I wanted to start off with the aspect that it was interesting for me last night, because normally you set aside a good couple of weeks to finish a very thick book, and within a few minutes last night I went through it and I said, but you know what, it's got its place and it needs to be there, and I got your message and I know what you're doing. But let's start with yourself and the company first. Kufi Books, why?
Kufi Books, it all started last year. At the end of August of 2015, I decided to give up my daytime job, which was working in the logistics fields for almost 20 years.
You know that this is the normal progression and normal story of people that author books. I've seen it with everyone. They were doing something else and then they just become secluded and they sit there and they write, and you see them typing and doing what they do all day long. So you followed that same?
No, yes and no. I think I was in the winter of my discontent. And you know, the disquietude in my life was quite apparent last year, and there was a need for a shift in my life. My dad, my late father, was also a writer and an author of Islamic literature, and there was a natural progression to do that. My wife is also a journalist and an editor. So yeah, you know, the decision to progress into writing was easier. No less daunting, yeah, but a decision that was made on the 31st of August last year, which was the date that I walked out of corporate life.
So the scene was set for you. We know that your father's authored lots of books, and we're going to, at some later stage down in the series this year, we're going to talk about all of that. But he was known for certain books that he's done within the Islamic space. And did that inspire you growing up, watching him write? And did you maybe decide this is something you want to do down the line?
I think it was always in the back of my mind. One of the most potent forms of you know, leadership examples that my dad showed was his love for books. And I naturally gravitated towards that as well. You know, I absolutely love books, and I adore books. I could get lost in a bookstore, in a library. And that was something that sat with me always. You know, at night I would get up in the still of the night and I would see my dad in his study researching, and all the books would be strewn across his desk. And that was a potent visual for me growing up. And that is really where my love for reading really started.
So we're looking at Kufi Books. The name itself, I have a perception that it's coming out of the little cap that people wear. I'm not sure. We are there, yes. But has it got something to do with the fact that you've assimilated the name of the show, or sorry, the name of your organization to something that would perhaps mean capping on the head or anything like that? Because that's what I read into it when I saw it.
You know, Kufi Books, it basically, my dad's, when my dad was still alive, the distribution and the publishing arm of his works was called Daddy's Books. And you know,
and for you it was Daddy's Books.
It was Daddy's Books, yeah. Right? And so when my dad passed on, we needed to, you know, there was a need to look at things differently. And what, you know, I can remember sitting one afternoon with a good friend of mine. She's also an artist and a creative designer. And I told her that I wanted to rebrand my dad's, you know, Daddy's Books. I didn't know what I wanted at the time. And she said, do you just want to do a rebranding of the logo, or do you want to go, you know, to change it? You want to change everything. You want to relook at, you know, the brand itself. And then I started thinking, and I realized that we needed a stronger brand, because what we wanted to do, we wanted to take this internationally. We wanted to give access to others, you know, his works, and grant that access to the whole world. And we felt that there was a need to have a stronger brand name associated with his works. And that's, you know, that's when we thought about it. The next question she then asked was, you know, what was your dad's favorite, you know, what was the favorite thing of his? And the red kufi, you know, he never went anywhere without it. You know, he always wore his red kufi. known in Cape Town as the Kufia, right? So the Rway Kufia. Whether it was, when he was at home in the company of people, he always wore it, and it was a sign of respect, And also the history synonymous with the red kufi in Cape Town. There's urban legend that says that, if a magistrate or a judge wanted an additional opinion of something, he then asked anybody to just check for somebody outside that wore red fez, because they were known as being people of trustworthiness and honesty. And so we thought that that would be a good brand that could hold its weight in the international arena as well. It would be something that people across the world would be able to relate to.
I also see a bit of a relation to the capping of something. So, because normally when you talk about education and reading, and you draw synonyms around that, so the capping of something would be like a graduation. And so I see this kufi also perhaps as a cap on a kid's head, as a sign and a hallmark of education.
No, it definitely is. That is where the capping came about. It was where people used to put Qur'ans on their heads, as a sign of respect. Have the Qur'an on your head, and that then the Europeans saw this. And that's where the actual cap, the graduation cap, comes from, with the tassel, right? And so, it does have a symbol of education, but also just the Kufi, the Kufic script is one of the Arabic scripts, right? So red Kufi, my dad being a writer, it all just fitted, and also just the location being Cape Town, and almost everybody has got one stacked away in their cupboard somewhere, every family, So we just felt that it fitted, and we went with it. We were fortunate to have a great designer, great brand designer, to do the logo for us, and then to help us along the path of actually realizing the brand.
So there's the launch of We Love to Play, Pray, which is a very interesting title. Tell me a bit about the inspiration for this particular work.
My children, my eldest, Yusuf, he's really the catalyst.
I see his name is encapsulated in the script itself.
In fact, my children, that's them in the book. But what we didn't do, I didn't.
From a graphic point of view too, or?
Slightly, not entirely, but there are similarities. I don't own the cat just yet. It's on its way.
Okay, good.
But my children, naturally being, they're naturally inquisitive, curious, and we also homeschool them. And so there's a lot of time that they spend around mom and dad. And just observing them, we can learn so much from them. In fact, I learn more from my children than I think they learn from me, and they teach me so much. And my eldest son Yusuf is always, he's the artist, he's the eccentric one, and something that he always loved, he always wanted to be an imam, right? So he went through this phase of being a pirate, being a bee, and then it ended up him being an imam, and it's still with him. He calls himself the Sultan of the house.
So that one is staying at least. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's always, collecting all the prayer mats in the house and taking it to his room and setting up his mosque and his mimbar and having his two younger siblings there, and he plays the imam, and
I hope you're attending as a congregant, man.
Now and then, when we're praying our daily prayers, he doesn't want me to stand in front. He wants to stand in front, so it's a bit challenging. I do allow him to stand in front, but actually I'm leading. He just doesn't know it yet.
Let's just hope he's not watching the show.
Yeah, so that was really where the story came from. And they would dress up. Their mom would dress them up. He would dress him up himself. And the story just took shape.
So basically you took your inspiration from watching your own children, and then seeing how you're going to encapsulate that, or rather put that within a script or a manuscript for a book for kids. But there had to be something else, and that was, you must have had a message that you maybe felt needed to be communicated to children, or maybe that we're not communicating the messages properly to children. Maybe we're telling kids to do things in a very adult way, and they needed to be communicated in a way that they understand. Are those aspects that might have crossed your mind, or are they notions that you have used to get where you got to?
all those things that you just mentioned, were contemplative, thoughts, and I did think of those things. But one of the big things for me, one thing I always wanted to write. I always knew I wanted to write, but I also knew that I wanted to write picture books for kids. And the reason for that is that I felt that it's something that is very necessary in Cape Town, in South Africa. I don't think we've got enough of it, and definitely not local works. And so that was an area that I felt that we needed to fill. But the other thing that I also wanted to do, I wanted to teach foundational truths and spiritual practices in a new way, in a fun way.
We're not talking about the actual script. We're talking about the messages in the script.
Correct.
And that's where you're going.
Definitely. We didn't want I didn't want a book based on dogma. I didn't want a dogmatic way of teaching kids. It needed to be fun. And one of the...
Don't make Salie and you're going to hell.
Yeah, exactly. We wanted, naturally, children are naturally inquisitive. They're naturally keen on learning. And somehow we take this out of them. And they get to a certain point in their life where they don't really want to learn. And then we need to question ourselves, why is that? When their natural inclination is towards learning. And that is really what I want to do. The Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that let them play until the age of 7. And so that is really what we're trying to attempt. To create storylines that can teach them these dogmatic principles of our religion and our faith and our creed, but in a fun, refreshing way where they can go out, instead of wanting to be Batman, they can be an imam. So those are the kind of nuances that we're trying to create here. It's basically these subtleties that we see in our kids that we can channel it in a different direction.
These subtleties could be life-defining moments for children because they are impressionable, they're looking to absorb, and we might be giving them things that are not absorbable. And what I mean by that is, somebody asked me 2 days ago and said that, did you ever notice we struggle to get the youth to the mosque? And I said, well, we should be struggling because we're using the wrong methodology, and that means we're making the mosque a very unattractive place to come to, and a place where people will be judged and be questioned, why are you sitting there, why didn't you do this, why did you come without the fairs? And as long as you do that, they're not going to be going. But if you had to make it attractive to them and find other areas of attraction within the environment, they would be flogging there. Likewise, I think perhaps that's what you're trying to achieve with this. So it's not about years, the instructions. You are illustrating the instructions in a very fun way.
Correct. And again, the tendency for parents is an authoritative one. And I've always contemplated why that is so. And it's still a philosophy of mine that because of our slave history and our enslavement within this country, there's this authoritative tendencies towards our kids that spills over. And we need to step back, and we really need to look at these children as pure beings, that we need to respect, and that they've got an opinion, and then we need to respect that. And in today's society, that would be unheard of. How can the child tell the dad? Right? And it's not about the child telling the dad, it's about the child being pure. Allah says in the Quran that the child is pure, right? So what comes from the child is purity. And it's what we as parents instill within the child that makes the child the person that we frown upon at the end of the day. Because when we see what we see in our children is actually a reflection of who we are. Right? So when we don't like that, we actually need to look within and see why that is the case. And so this authoritative way of raising kids is definitely not the way that we need to move into into the future. And what we're trying to achieve with We Love to Play is that the children really creates their own lives. They can take these very serious matters and they can make it their own, and they do it often. One of the things that the child is first to mimic within our spiritual practice as Muslims is the salah. And they're not doing it because we told them to do that. They're doing it because they see the example being set. Mom and dad is always on their pre-mat making salah 5 times a day. So they're naturally inclined towards doing that. So that is really what we need to take away from it. Set an environment for flourishing and allow the child to be. And that's what we're trying to do here.
So I think your premise is you're obviously rotating around the aspect of observational learning. And this is a key focus within society that I don't want to use a cliche that people normally use, but what children see, they do. So ineffective, the parents are doing something specific, the kids are just naturally inclined to do that. And likewise, if the parent is doing something very good, the child is going to be doing that. You go further by looking at illustrations, and your illustrations are fairly interesting for me. They're very colorful, they're big, the words are big, there's not lots of script, so it's not daunting to children. Tell us about the methodology behind the book itself.
It was something new to us. I used to be involved with my dad's books, so I know about.
And that's intense. That's
that's
a word on every per square centimeter or something, and so it's intense.
That's quite. I mean, that's authoritative text, so it's something that it's very in depth, and
do you not find that an issue going down from there, dealing with those things to being able to say, I can finish this book in a week's time.
No, in fact, I actually thought I could, but on the contrary, it is actually quite a lot of hard work trying to put together a book for children. And there's a lot of things that we need to think about. And what we did a lot of research. And I think with anything that we want to do in life, there's the research has got to be there. If you want to put out a good product or something that is really that you would want to give to somebody or have on your shelf, it definitely needs to be of an excellent quality. And that's something that we wanted to attain from the start. The content needed to be good, the illustrations needed to be of international standard, as well as the...
Are those done locally?
That's all done locally. So my next message is that it can be done. We've got the resources, we've got the skill sets here, and we just need to bring it all together. And that's also the next another phase within the Red Kufi books development, which is to be a publisher not just for our own works but for other people as well, and not just within the Islamic genre, but also other educational pieces. And storytelling. I think Cape Town is rich with amazing storytellers, and we want to be that platform that allows them to get their voice out there.
So that's interesting, because my next question to you was going to be, so where do you go next? Does this particular one by you and your wife, Noura Taib, does this particular one have another one coming out as part of this particular series, apart from the ones that you might be taking on as publishing for other authors, perhaps?
We are looking to piggyback off this one. There's I'm not going to let the cat out of the proverbial bag yet, but yeah, yeah, we're keeping the cat in the book. But yeah, there's definitely something. We want to go down and teach the other forms of ritual to children in the same manner. So it's definitely the flavor is gonna be the same. But there are other works that we're working on. We're working on something, a biography of the Prophet that we hope to have done in the next 3 to 4 months, inshallah. And then the next immediate project that we got on our laps is a new book. It's actually a posthumous publication by my dad. Before he passed on, he left it in raw form. So we're finalizing that, and it's in final editing. We've done the cover artwork already. So it's just final editing, typeset, and then go to print. So inshallah, that book is called A Beginner's Journey Through the World of Islam. And we're looking forward to having that book out shortly.
And those are things that you'd come and visit us and tell us about again.
Inshallah.
Because we'd like to look into some of the works of your father at the same time. When we're looking back here, we also see that the covers, and I'm just looking at the actual practical book itself for our viewers, and we're going to show you some close-ups of that. It's a nice glossy hardcover, and then you've got nice big pages and big illustrations, big words, things that kids could, or rather Muslim kids could relate to, and that's the Kaaba, those kind of things. Family life seems to be prevalent, pets, animals, and that sort of thing. Where to from here? You're setting a benchmark, and I think you're setting a benchmark within the space of South Africa and our local community in Cape Town especially. So where to from here? Because when you go into a next project, you always look at the project and say, how do I do that better? But this is a good output on the first one, so where do you go to?
Inshallah, with Allah's qudra, we're always looking at improving. There's definitely differences. It might not be in the book, but the approach to the project might be different. It will definitely be.
Convergence?
Definitely, the way at the end, the convergence was it was traumatic. In the sense.
Are you not looking to converge the medium in the sense of, we have a problem. We have a big problem in society. Some people might totally disagree with me, like my brother is going to disagree with me listening to this right now, but we talk about e-books and we talk about all these things, and they have their positives and their negatives, in my view. But I personally don't believe, and I don't have children and people know that, but I don't believe that children need to be sitting with an iPad all the time. I feel that this is where they need to be. What's your take on that?
I have to agree with you that's actually. I'm
Don't agree with me because I'm saying it.
No, I agree with you because I believe that too. There's a place for e-books, but I don't think it's the place for kids. I don't think kids until the age of 8 should be in front of a computer, but that's my view.
The tablet is a problem.
It is a problem.
It's the first tablet that's going to cause medical problems. So.
There are many other tablets that have caused medical problems, but I mean, definitely, even in our language, we call it the tablet, right? And it's just how slick these advertisers are to lure us into attaining certain things for our lives and think that it's going to enhance our lives.
I'm an addict. I must tell you, I'm an addict. I'm on an iPad all day long, but that's fine. I do work where things are required. You understand? But I don't believe that children need to be there. I believe totally they need to be here where you at with what you're producing. This is what the eyes need to see. It can't be those blue screens all day and night.
No, it can't be. I mean, medically, it's been proven that in terms it creates boredom within kids because of the fast, the visual watching, the visual stimulation, and once they don't have the visual stimulation, and when they're sitting with a book, it actually slows them down, and so they become bored quite easily. I would tend to say that kids should be reading instead of watching TV. That's just my viewpoint, and that's easy to do. In today's day and age, one thing that we can say, we're always moaning about our government, but our government has given us libraries all over the country, and that's riches that you can't buy. Yeah, and take your kid there. Get them a library card. Let them take out 7 books every week and let them immerse themselves in that. They'll have a better artistic expression, which I think our industry is in dire need of. We need to breathe in some art into our industry, and that is at all levels, individual level, at the industrious level, and at even at the artistic level. But what I'm trying to say is that we think about the linear movement from point A to point B. But we need to breathe art into that movement, to make it beautiful, to enliven it, right? And oftentimes we do things and we're just thinking about the goal, But that journey should be one filled with God. It should be one filled with love and happiness and even sadness, But instead of doing that, we're just thinking about the end product. And that's very sad. And we're trying to.
There's not much meaning in all of that. Things need to be meaningful, whatever we do, and that's effectively what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, we loved putting that book together, as a family, and my kid at the end of the, we end the day with me reading to them. It's either my wife reading to the one and I'm reading to the other, and the third one is waiting for his book to be read, but somebody has.
I don't know when last I've seen a scene like that. I think in 2016, it's very rare. I need to come and sit at your house at some point and just watch, because I haven't seen parents for a long time. Like, we grew up that way, where we had this notion that your mother would come and read something if you cannot sleep. And you're just making me reminisce about all of that. But we don't see that anymore. It's watch TV, get to bed. It's where's your tab? Switch it off now, go and sleep. It's no longer parents sitting with a child reading. And you're right, that needs to come back. If we want to heal society on a larger level, we're going to have to start down there.
We have to, Faizal. If we should read every day to our children, a book every day, from the day they're born until the age of 5, that you would have read 1,825 books to them by the age of 5. Their vocabulary would be so much better. They would be speaking at a level of grade, I'm not sure what these days because my kids don't attend school. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, we engage them in things other than what they really need in life, oftentimes. And kids should be playing in trees. They should be out playing in the dirt, you know, instead of sitting in front of a TV all day. You know, we call them latchkey kids. You know, they come home and get nurtured by Barney. I mean, that guy, shame, you know, he's going through an existential crisis. He's thinking, you know, who am I? This is there life for me after Barney? And yet we allow these characters to rear our kids. Insane in today's day and age. When we as parents, we need to take the responsibility. And that responsibility, I believe, starts with reading. It was the first verse that was revealed. And if we really think about that at a very deep level, anything else could have been revealed. You know, all the ills that were in society at the time, there were many ills that we would think would be much graver than, you know, telling people to read. Yet that was the first verse revealed.
Correct, yes.
You know, read, not don't stop killing your daughters. It was read. So we need to take it seriously. And as at the origin of the Quran, which was read, at the origin, which is the birth of our children, we need to read. You know, that's the one thing. We can't play football with our kids when they're just born, but we can read to them. It's the one thing that we can do, the activity that we can do from the time that they're born, which is amazing. You know, so that is my message. And one of the big, what we're very passionate about at Read Kufi Books is the love for reading. Our mission is to call people to the first Quranic verse revealed and to provoke the heart to the love of reading. Instead of giving our children more in quantity materially, we should give more of ourselves, right? But we can only become more if we read more, if we learn more. Can we give more? And so we need to look within and empower ourselves at all levels so that we can impart to our children that which is good.
Zaahied, we are looking at distribution and availability of the book. Where do our viewers find the book? Are you on certain shelves? Are you available at certain places? Is there a website that they could go to?
Yeah, they can get the book online at our website, readkufi.com.
So there's an order online and you will package that up and it will be delivered.
It will be delivered to their door, however they want it. There are various options. Yeah, so they can get it online at readkufi.com, redkufi.com. Alternatively, they can locally within Cape Town, they can get it at Timbuktu Books, they can get it at Sawan, Star Boutique, and as well as we've got our first order from Australia this morning. So we're looking forward to sending our books to Australia, and we're looking at tapping the markets in the UK as well now. So alhamdulillah, you know, it's been a good journey for us. It's been short, but it's been actually blessed. We've been blessed with amazing people that has come on board with us. You know, our illustrator is just amazing. He's an amazing guy. And then, you know, our creative director and our art designer. Yeah, I couldn't have done it without them, and my wife and my family.
Well, you just took my last question. I was about to ask you, who are you going to thank? And who do you feel played a big role in what you've done? And you started mentioning them already. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, my dad and my mother. You know, I mean, without them, you know, the example that my dad said, and the last example he set me in death was, I was contemplating and I was thinking about my dad, and I thought, you know, what he taught me in life was that you got to love what you're doing. He never told it to me. He showed it to me. You know, there wasn't a single day. I mean, we used to go away on holidays and his books would go with him. And we get so upset with him. But he couldn't be apart from it. It was, you know, he lived in it. And that is what I learned from him, that we've got to love what we do. And then we won't work another day in our lives. And that is, alhamdulillah, I've been granted that privilege. And I hope that, you know, with Allah's qudra, that it grows from strength to strength.
And I wondered this morning, why do you look like someone that's relaxed and not working? Because you're doing what you need to do. So I thank you for coming on to the show. We hope to have you back soon to talk about some of the other publications and perhaps maybe additions to this particular series. Thank you.
Shukran.
Zaahied Salie, and he's talking about, and he's from Read Kufi Books, and we're talking about their latest publication for children. It's an illustration. You can order your copy at readkufi.com. Do email us if you're looking for more details on that. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.